So I wanted to show how I built this thing. Let me get this in frame somehow. This. Kind of like this. Do we want it over here? Oh, that works. Kind of. Yeah, so I used to have, because I need to pivot the camera from music to work, I used to have a very simple solution, which was based on this cheap rotating table. I had this in the beginning, and then I had just bunch of cloth on there, which I then exchanged with this pivot table, which is still kind of the crucial element of this. And I had the idea, I just glued this on here, but the idea was that maybe later I could screw it in there. But I always had the issue that then I still can't move it side to side on this. So whenever I wanted to move it away from the screen, I would have to physically move the table, and that would have been an issue. Can I put this in here? Of course not. Of course not. Can I do this? Okay. So this was the situation before. I could move this thing side to side, and that's about it. Not ideal. So remove the thing. Oh yeah, right, I also have this because the lens that I want. The biggest problem in this whole setup is that I have this 24 to 70 millimeter zoom lens on there, which is, I think, at least as heavy as the camera, if not heavier. So that's an issue. So I need to put a lot of glue on there to make it actually work, these glue pads here. But then I had the idea that I could just there are solutions for this, like you can move side to side, but they were expensive is the one thing, and they would add a lot of height. So I wanted to have something that is very slim, I think. Slim whilst letting me pivot the thing. So I'd have to in some way mount this on a track that I can move the camera back and forth on. And I arrived at just using, these are what's it called? These are for drawers. You put on the side of the drawer so you can pull it out. And the idea was I would just mount this. I have this small, on my desk I have this small thing. What's Regal? What is Regal? Regal, a shelf, a small shelf on there. I have them on both sides of the screen just to put stuff up. And I have my phone here and my CO2 meter. So I would mount this on here, and then I would have to mount something that rotates like this thing, but not as big, so that doesn't take up so much space. So I bought this thing, which I think is for a chair, but it's a rotating axle. And then I also got this 5mm aluminium plate, because this thing was wider than this thing, so I couldn't mount it properly. But this plate, this way around, I marked the holes on there, on the center, and then I put this thing on there to mark more holes that I could drill in. Just to put screws through there. And then the biggest task was just drilling the holes in the whole setup. Although there were some issues drilling the holes. Hang on, let me pull this up. Let's see here. And you can have a video of me struggling to drill holes for about half an hour. It would never quite work. The first mistake that I made was that I had this drill here set in hammer mode, which is for woodworking, not for woodwork, I guess for drilling through concrete. So that's not a good idea for metal work, I found out. So, because it was just, I get the audio here, very little, it's very loud, but I make it quiet. So that didn't work out well. Try to sand off some of the edges. I tried this for a while too. And I never done metalworking before, which was the first mistake. And I kept thinking, isn't aluminum supposed to be very easy to drill? Why isn't this working? I tried for a while, and I think got pretty hot too. I sanded off, and that kind of worked well, sanding off the sides. I thought it seems to work. Why isn't the drilling part working? I actually had to, when I was changing the sides, because the piece was so hot at this point, I actually stupidly put in this paper there to try and pick up the stuff that would fall from it, but that wasn't a good idea. But just handling the piece, it was so hot, just from the drilling that was failing. You could see I kind of made a dent, but not really. And so the first pass, I at least got the sands sided. That worked kind of well. And it was still hot to the touch at the end. So I thought I did something wrong in... I also read that you can't drill as fast, basically. Otherwise, you just oversteer, and the piece would never really grip. So the drilling bit would never kind of catch something they can drill into. So I thought, I had wasted the drill bits, I had dulled them, so it would never go forward, and that I would have to loop them a little bit and do it slower. So that's the second thing, second attempt was that. Just me trying to slow down and maybe that would work and get some good old WD-40 in there. So got the new drill bits. Put the thing in. Oh yeah, so maybe I didn't have the right grip in the beginning, so I punched some holes. Read the manual on how to hit like 1000 RPM instead of thousands of RPM. Looped it up a little bit. And it kind of still wouldn't work. And maybe you can already tell what the issue was. So try to make it slower. Try a different hole. Try to have a fresh start. And it would never really work. Just didn't go in. So this is now about half an hour of trying to drill this. And then I had as I was fiddling around the speed of the drill, just look at me fruitlessly trying to drill in. And then I figured out that I had the drill in reverse. And all I was doing was basically just heating up the whole thing. And then when I got the right way around, it just drilled in like butter. So these are proper carbide drill bits. So they're supposed to make a lot of. They're supposed to just go through this like butter. They do, if you don't put the drill in reverse. So that's what I did then. So that then worked. Got all the different holes in there. In the side hole. My table is not suited for metal. So drill those in. Got that out. Then I took a big drill bit to drill out the edges. And then I sanded them off a little bit. And that was basically it. And the piece barely got hot at all this time. Which is surprising, I know. Yeah, sanded that up. And then I finally had this. The only issue with this was that in my fruitlessly drilling these holes backwards, they went way off center, so I had to re-drill. I just basically shifted the hole, or rotated it by 90 degrees, and made 2 new holes here, which is, wait, that's the wrong folder now. So then I got these in there, and they were a little more aligned, which helped to get these screws in there. Because on the top plate you have these 4 holes, and then these 2. These have a Gewinde. What's Gewinde? A thread. Yeah. They have a thread, so you can just screw something in there, and then these I did with some washers and stuff. Nuts. At this point it felt like industrial strength. Just 4 thick bolts in there. But that was the first step. The second step is the rotating bit I also got in with some screws and bolts, and it fit perfectly in here, which I obviously measured before. So then I just had to get the screws in here. There was some fiddling because I had to get the screws in at the same time from the bottom down and from the bottom down and from the bottom up, so that I could put this in here. I also had to drill some holes, 2 holes in these, the drawer things, so that it would fit. I also had to put some washers in between here so that it would be level, because the shelf is kind of slightly bent in the middle. So I put 5 washers here and 2 here. Get some flat screw heads. I had a bunch of these screws I just bought packs of them because I didn't know what I needed. But yeah, in the end, this was the result. I could have sanded down the screws, but I couldn't be bothered basically. So just put in some washers so that the drawer thing here wouldn't catch on these screws, so that you can put it smoothly side to side. It's still not perfectly fine, but yeah. And then you can also pivot the thing down. I mean, this is still the main functional bit in all this, the pivot table. And I think this pivot table is still more expensive than all the other things of this build. I think like the plate, the rotating thing, and these drawer things, that was about $30 or $40. I think $30. And this is like 80 or 100, so twice as expensive. You can see it from the side, and slightly lower. Yeah. So now, when I play the synthesizer, I can just pull this over, and when I get back here, I can pull it back. And if I had known the thing about the drilling, this whole build would have been over in like 2 hours or an hour maybe. But since I was going back and forth and not being sure on how to actually do this, it was like half a day. But it's a lot better than this, definitely. A lot more stable too. Even though the only thing that is kind of annoying is that this rotating thing has some play, so I can... It doesn't really sit level on this. Not sure what I do about that. And it's kind of it's too smooth, so if you pinch it to the side, it rolls back a little bit. So maybe I have to find some solution to slow down the rotation a little bit so they will stick. I just have to put more grease into the bell bearing, into the bearing, maybe. And that's all I have for show and tell today. Just look at the stellar drill job on this. But it works. It works fine. That's what I needed. And I found another solution like this. I also have a video of how it rotates. Hang on. This is kind of the end result. I didn't put in the thing down there yet. But yeah. You can move the thing. And the main job that it does well is that it holds up the heavy camera, which is actually just heavy because of the lens, mostly. Oh yeah, and one of the biggest features of this pivot thing is that it keeps, even though I haven't tightened these screws, it still keeps it on the same level of tilt, which helps. And that's what you need for this big lens. Boop. So, with that out of the way,